Can this tiny device improve your online security? Let's check it out. Dave Taylor here, and I'm looking at this. This tiny little device is actually a pretty sophisticated piece of electronics. This is the GoTrust Idem Key, and it is a fast ID online or FIDO device. So it supports FIDO2 or FIDO U2F, and U2F is universal two-factor. So when you've read me writing and you've heard me talk about two-factor authentication, number one, always enable that on every possible site you can. It makes it more secure. But this is a very special kind of two-factor authentication device because it's standalone, and you look at it and you think, so what, does this send a secret code or something? And the answer is yes, but it's a public key encryption device. So what happens is that every time you go to log in, the site you're logging into challenges this device by sending a sequence. And then using public key encryption or cryptography, this generates a unique response based on that challenge. And if both of those match, then you log in. If they don't match, you don't. Easy enough. Now, why is all this so important? Well, it's important because your password alone is not enough to keep you secure. Now, let's imagine you're traveling somewhere and you need to stop by an internet cafe and log into your Dropbox or maybe your Facebook or your Twitter account or something, right? Now, you log in, everything works fine, but if you just use a password, then you might not realize someone has just actually logged your account and password pair. There's a lot of ways you can do that. You can install software if you have access to the computer. You can install a little gizmo between the computer and the keyboard if it's a remote keyboard. There's a lot of ways people can capture that data. They can even just sniff the Wi-Fi network, right? But what if I told you I could give you my password and you still can't log in? That's the magic of two-factor authentication. Now, a lot of people use it with their smartphones, and that works fine. But what if your smartphone's not available? What if there's no Wi-Fi? What if there's no cellular signal? And you're somewhere where you just have a hardwired computer and connection. So that's really where these come in really handy. And this is what a lot of corporations use. In fact, the US government uses a key almost identical to this. Same basic technology with FIDO2 and FIDO U2F, right? So let's talk about FIDO-enabled services. Now, what you can't do, and this is something that's important because people don't realize this, is you can't use this to log into a PC or a Mac or a Linux machine. That's not its purpose. Its purpose is to help you with more secure online systems. So Google, Dropbox, Facebook, Microsoft, GitHub, Twitter, all of those support. And you can just do a quick search as FIDO2, the digit 2, and just look to see if your favorite online services support this. Really cool, right? So all you need to do is put this on your keychain. It is water and weather resistant and tamper proof, so no one can pop it open and steal your secret passcode or anything, because a public key encryption system starts with a private key, which is, stored on this thing. That's also why someone else can't take a different key and log in pretending to be you. It's tied to your specific device. Now, in terms of actually having it work, it actually works with Mac and Windows and Android and iOS in different ways. And you can get it to work on Linux. You might have to install some software. Mostly it's web browsers that support this U2F or FIDO, U2F system. And I'll show you on both Windows and Mac how this works. It's actually pretty cool. But you don't have to install anything. And that's super important because, again, if I'm on the road and I go into an internet cafe or a library and they have hardwired old school PCs, when I go to log in, I don't know what the heck's running on that computer. Do I really trust the librarians to be tech experts and be able to foil every possible hacker who's out there? They're really good at their job. I'm not sure that's part of it. So I'd rather have my own security system. And that's where something like this can be great. So I can go to a stock Windows or Mac system, go to log into a service like Twitter, which is what we're going to use for the demo, and have this make sure that even if someone steals my password, they're still not going to come back in half an hour and log in as me, change the password, and then get it over, take over my account. That would not be good. So let's do the demo. I'm going to start with Mac because on the Mac, it's much easier to do a screen capture. So I'm going to get my Mac fired up and I'm going to actually, let's see, get this thing recording. So here I am at twitter.com and I'm going to go ahead and log in. Now I have a couple of different accounts. I'm going to use one called FilmBuzz and this has a pretty complicated password. So bear with me while I type it in. It is not something that is easily guessed and it's so complex I don't remember it, but that's the point. So I'm going to log in, but now instead of it saying you're good to go, it now says, hey, you need to enter your security key. So I'm going to do that and I'm going to just put the key into one of the ports on the Mac and then you have to touch the little circular sensor. It sends the challenge, it responds, I'm logged in, we're done. That's it. It's actually not very hard to work with. And the only thing I will mention is that because on this particular MacBook, it's only USB-C, I had to use a USB-C adapter. So the actual GoTrust Idem Key is just USB 3, which is that rectangular connection. Slightly tedious. I can only assume they're going to come out with one that's USB-C or maybe USB 3 on one side, USB-C on the other. That'd be kind of cool, right? So now let's do the same thing on my Windows computer. So this is Windows 10 on a little Dell laptop and I can't capture the screen, but what I can do is when I get to just the right point, I will spin the screen around and hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on. So here I am. And so I was just using Safari, whoops, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Chrome, assuming I get this to work correctly. Let's see. So here we are on Chrome, and it's the same thing. So it's time for me to log in. I know there's a lot of glare there. It's time for me to log in, so I'm going to type in my login and my password, and then I'll show you what's going on with how that security key works. And again, it's a fairly complicated password, so bear with me. What is probably impossible is for me to actually talk while I type it in. So I think I typed it in correctly. I'm going to press enter. Okay, and now it says log in with security key. And then you can see in the center that the operating system itself has put up a prompt. I think that's actually via Chrome. And it's basically saying, put in your security key and activate it and we'll be good to go. So I'm going to put it in and that should be enough, but it's flashing and there's a sensor. So you touch that. It's not a fingerprint sensor, but it then says go, work. And you can see, boom, I'm already logged in. How easy is that? And again, there's no software I had to install. It's just this little device and all of these systems support it. So cool. So a tiny bit more and then I'm just going to tell you the price because this is a really cool and remarkably affordable way to make sure you have better off-site security. And I know a lot of companies and a lot of Fortune 500 companies that use just these sort of things that they issue to employees and say, every time you're off-site and you want to log in, whether you're at a customer facility, whether you're at a Wi-Fi cafe, whether you're at home, whether you're in a hotel room because you're on a business trip, you need to use this, and that's just how it is. And probably some people say, what? How does that work? But most people say, oh, that's pretty easy. And hooking it all up and configuring something like Twitter to use one of these FIDO2 or FIDO U2F keys is actually pretty darn easy. I have a link to a tutorial on my Ask Dave Taylor site in the description for this video that shows you step by step exactly how I enabled this for my FilmBuzz account. It's actually pretty darn easy. But USB 3.0, NFC, which is how it works with smartphones, that's a near field communication. So obviously there are no phones that come with a big USB connection. That'd be ugly actually, right? You don't want that. Like I said, it is water resistant and tamper proof and it's ridiculously affordable. But before we get there, I'm going to ask if you can subscribe to my channel. There's a little button on the side, click or tap on it, subscribe, and we can stay in touch. Awesome. Now, this is the GoTrust Idem Key, and it is $22 on Amazon. 22 bucks for something that's going to significantly improve your security when you're logging into online systems from either your computer or other people's computers. That is, in my book, a no-brainer for better security. So that's all I got. I'm gonna actually have to catch up with you in my next video.